Welcome into lesson 43. Today we are talking about bass and chord theories. Complete harmony includes a bass note, otherwise known as the bottom note, the lowest sounding pitch in a chord, in addition to the three notes of the triad. It is usually the lowest note of the harmony and is usually the triad's root. In harmony, a chord is considered to be in root position as long as the root is in the bass, regardless of the positioning of the rest of the notes in the chord. The bass is usually notated in the bass clef. So if we think about this from a left hand, right hand piano playing perspective, the left hand will be playing the root note of the chord. In this case, it's just a C for all three. And it's playing the root, it's playing the C. So that's the lowest pitch in addition to being the root. In the right hand, we're playing a triad, we're playing the full chord, but it's in inversion. If we're just looking at the right hand in treble clef, it's first root position, first inversion, second inversion. But what we're dealing with here is the full chord. How does this sound? How is this played with both the left and the right hand? Or if we're looking at it on the staff in both the treble and the bass clef. And since the left hand, or the lowest sounding note, is a C every single time, these are all root position C chords, because the top voicing or the top inversion does not impact the overall inversion of the chord. Next up, let's talk about closed versus open position chords. So chord members excluding the bass spread out over more than one octave are in open position. Chord members within the same octave are said to be in closed position. Again, chords are considered to be in root position as long as the root is in the bass. All of these chords, whether closed or open, are in root position, the ones that we're going to discuss here. Okay, so if we look at these two examples, the one on the left is in a closed position, and the one on the right is in an open position voicing. And the reason that is because in the right hand, we're excluding the bass notes. So these are not considered in here. We're just looking at, essentially right now, what's in the treble clef. So in the left hand, we have a C, an E, and a G. So we're dealing with the space between C and C. So all of those notes are within that one octave space. But now, when we look to the example on the right, we're dealing with a G, and here's our second G. So we could have a C in there. Maybe we have a C right there, and that would be in one octave. Also keep the E in, but that's not what we have. We also have this C up top. So here's our one octave, and we're going above that to add in a C. So that's more than an octave in the space. So that's now in an open position chord. All right, let's look at another example here. So again, both C major chords, the root is in the bass, specifically the bass clef. And when we look at the treble clef, we have an E to an E. So there's our octave. That first one is in a closed position. And our second one, so we have the space of C to C, but that E is higher than that C. So that's more than an octave in there. So this is our open position chord. Now, these aren't good or bad. They're just getting different sounds. And to know this terminology is a good thing to keep in your brain, whether you want a closer, tight-sounding, closed position chord or something with a little more expansion with an open position chord. So as you're playing with other musicians, this gets into a much bigger concept of how do you fit in as a piano player with acoustic guitar, electric guitar, maybe there's an organ player. So you're not stepping on anyone's toes and you're finding the right space to fill in. These are great ways to incorporate that.